A warm welcome to you. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Now, today we are going to talk about Mia Mottley. That's Barbados's Mia Mottley, the Prime Minister of Barbados. Now, Barbados is a very small country that is located in the Caribbean Sea. And, Barbados was recognized in 2021 as becoming a republic and severing ties with the British monarchy, the then Queen Elizabeth II. Since then, we have King Charles as the reigning king since the death of Queen Elizabeth. Now, who is Mia Amor Mottley? She has been described as a fearless, an eloquent, and a person with a great wit and intellect, right? And we can't deny that she is quite a good speaker and an excellent speaker, I should say, and one who knows how to articulate her sentiments on the world stage. And she does so with courage and with stamina and with great zest and zeal, right? So we have to give credit where credit is due. But who is she really? Who is Mia Amor Mottley? We know that she became famous after she made her speech at COP26, and that was held in Glasgow, COP26, and that was about the environment. She is certainly an indefatigable advocate of the environment. She often speaks about the importance of conserving, preserving the environment, and taking care of it as much as possible. Now, let us turn to Forbes, right? Forbes magazine, and see what they have to say about Mia Amor Mottley. Now, we hear from Forbes that Mia Mottley was elected as Barbados's prime minister in 2018. When she was sworn in, she became the first woman to hold the role. So she is the first woman prime minister of Barbados. And she first became prime minister. She became prime minister in 2018, something that we need to remember. Mottley has become a global leader on the issue of climate change. In 2021, she issued an impassioned speech to the United Nations General Assembly calling for action, right? So she's calling for action as she believes that we have to do much to save our planet, right? Because the climate is changing, and she is calling on governments around the world to, to stand up for the environment as much as we can to preserve it so that we do not become victims of the disastrous effects that could wreak up on planet Earth. Under her leadership, that is her leadership as Prime Minister in November 21, Barbados officially became a parliamentary republic and removed the Queen of England as its head of state, right? So Barbados is now officially a republic. It was in former times a constitutional republic, right? So it was a former constitutional republic. Now it is a parliamentary republic, right? That is what Barbados is at the moment. And she made that transition, that's Mia Mottley, made that transition for Barbados in 2021. Mottley's first political appointment was as Barbados's Minister of Education, Youth Affairs and Culture in September 1994. And I think she was very young at the time, could have been around 25 years old, I understand, when she became Minister of Education, Youth and Culture, something that is very interesting. So this is a lady that has been in politics since she was very young, right? At a tender age, she became a politician. Now, Time Magazine, incidentally, before we go to Time Magazine, there is also an interesting biographic information about Mia Mottley that I found on this website called ISPI. It's ispimonline.it, right? And it contains biographical information. So we have here the Honorable Mia Mottley, that's Mia Amor Mottley. SCMP became Barbados' eighth and first female prime minister on May the 25th, 2018, right? So we have now Miss Mottley was elected to the Parliament of Barbados in September 1994 as part of the new Barbados's Labour Party. So she's a part of the what is known as the BLP. You have two political parties in Barbados. You have the DLP, which stands for the Democratic Labour Party, and you have the BLP, which is synonymous with the Barbados Labour Party, something that you need to understand. So she is affiliated with the Barbados Labour Party, right? And based on my understanding, it was a party that was in the wilderness for years, right? So when she became prime minister, it's almost like she was taking that party out of the wilderness. I hope I'm correct, but that is what I read from several sources. Prior to that, she served as one of two opposition senators between 1991 and 1994, one of the youngest persons ever to be assigned a ministerial portfolio. Ms. Mottley was assigned or appointed Minister of Education, Youth Affairs, and Culture from 1994 to 2001. She later served as Attorney General and Deputy Prime Minister of Barbados from 2001 to 2008 and was the first female to hold that position. Ms. Mottley is an attorney at law with a degree from the London School of Economics, specializing in advocacy. She's also a barrister of the Bar of England and Wales. In 2002, she became a member of the local Privy Council. So she is actually a member of the local Privy Council. I would like to ask Barbadians, since given that now Barbados is a parliamentary republic, does Barbados rather go to the Privy Council, or do they use, as it were, the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, right? I would like to know that, because I understand that in Jamaica, the Jamaica Labour Party, they want to become a parliamentary republic also, but are desirous of going to the Privy Council, right? That's where they will remain with the Privy Council while opting not to use the CCJ. So I'm wondering if Barbados has done a similar sort of agreement, has made that arrangement to still, participate in the Privy Council, to still use the Privy Council while being a parliamentary republic, something that I would like to know from Barbadians, those who live there. Now, yeah, so that is interesting about her. Now, Time magazine, which we all know rather, not all knew, but all know, Time magazine, that lots of people around the world read. Now, let me see if I can share my screen with you here. And I think the writings here, the print is quite pale. Sometimes I'm really finding it hard to read the print. Let me make my screen a bit, the font much bigger, because I was struggling to read the print in the former articles that I read. Now, let me see if I can now share my screen with you so that you can see the Time magazine online, so that we could participate in this reading activity. Okay, now, wow, no, this is not what I'm looking for. Yeah, so this is share my screen. Okay, good. This is it now. So, right, so here we're seeing, this is Mia Mottley, right? And her middle name is Amor, right? So Mia Amor Mottley. This is Miss Mottley of Barbados. Now, this is what the Time magazine has to say. And it says there are some who stand tall and stand out no matter where they are from, whether a large, densely populated country or a small island nation. Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados is one such person, bold, fearless, and possessing a great intellect and wit. The Prime Minister is a brilliant politician who knows how to shake things up, right? So she knows how to get things rolling and to stand bravely, right? She is quite an indomitable woman. Since she was a young woman growing up in the Caribbean, Mia Mottley has always cared deeply about critical issues impacting the world, from poverty to debt to climate change, right? So she is the modern priestess or a modern priestess of climate change, right? This is where her advocacy lies, right? The climate change. She is a vocal advocate on the world stage for responsible stewardship of our planet, so that nations large and small and people rich and poor can survive and thrive together, right? That is what she's about, right? Climate change. And every time they talk about her in terms of her advocacy for financial reforms, it always winds up that she is going to be an advocate for climate change, right? So she is a climate change advocate, a passionate advocate of climate change. At COP26 in Glasgow late last year, says she chided the world's leaders for not working more diligently to limit the potential catastrophic impacts of climate change, telling them to try harder. So she has been chiding the world leaders, as it were, that they need to pay attention to climate change. Now, this is what I found interesting. While chair of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund Funds Development Committee, so she was a part of those two funds committees, or these two neoliberal institutions committee. She reminded the world's finance gurus that the level of countries' per capita income may not always be the best measure of its wealth, which is true. After all, but it doesn't end there. After all, one climate change-induced hurricane can take a significant toll on that wealth, right? So again, she is promoting climate change wherever reforms are to be made, right? So this is what Mia Mottley is about. Mia Mottley is an icon in her country, having won re-election by a landslide, right? And I understand that in 2018, when she became prime minister the first time, when she became prime minister in 2018, she won by a landslide, right? She won all 30 seats in Barbados, all 30 seats. Now, so much for democracy. That was interesting. And then in 2008, not 2008, but in 2022, when she had the second term, when she was up for her second term, she called a snap election, and she also had a landslide victory. And I'm going to prove that to you from this paper from Reuters. So I'm not lying on Mia Mottley that in her second term, she copped all 30 seats too, right? So she copped 30 seats for the first election in 2018. So she won by a landslide. She had a landslide victory in 2018 when she first became Prime Minister of Barbados, right? Something that you need to understand. Now, here is what Reuters is saying. The BLP, which Mia Mottley belongs to, she represents, right? The BLP, which is the Barbados Labour Party, won all 30 seats in the national legislature, right? And this was the election held in 2022, according to reports and electoral maps published by local media. The party had previously held 29 seats following its landslide win in 2018. So my apologies, she did win 29 seats of the 30 seats in 2018, but in 2022, she got all seats, right? Here we have that Mottley's snap vote moved up the election by about a year and a half. So she called a snap election. Opposition leaders had criticized Mottley for holding the election at a moment when some people were infected with coronavirus and could not leave their homes. And I understand that Barbados has some tracking system. So when you were positive for coronavirus, you had that tracking system, which would have allowed people to track and trace, and you would not be able to vote because they would evidently know that you were positive for the coronavirus, right? So that was something very interesting. This is what the Guardian newspaper had to say about her snap election and her landslide victory, or landslide victories in both elections, the one held in 2018 when she first became Prime Minister of Barbados, and her second term. And the second term now, which was held during the coronavirus pandemic, she became she won also another landslide victory, having copped all the seats. It says Mia Mottley, who shot to international fame during the COP26 climate talks and oversaw Barbados' break with the Queen last year, has won a second term as the Caribbean nation's prime minister. The 56-year-old's Barbados Labour Party won all 30 seats, repeating her clean sweep of 2018. And this is why I was saying that she won all seats, but apparently she might have won all seats in 2018. It's still not clear whether she won all 30 seats also in 2018, but what is clear is that she won all the seats in 2022. An election marred by complaints that thousands of COVID-positive Bajans were denied a vote. Now, look at what the UK Guardian did here. Talks about the fact that she's a climate change advocate, and she came on the scene on the international stage when she made her famous speech at Glasgow, right? At COP26 held in Glasgow in 2000. Was it 2019? Can't remember the year that she gave that speech. Now, listen to what the Guardian newspaper is actually making a correction here. This article was amended on the 21st of January 2022 due to an editing error. An earlier version said the BLP won 29 seats in the 2018 election. The party won all 30 seats, but one MP rather decided a week later to serve in opposition. So she copped all 30 seats, right, in 2018. And this was before the pandemic election. So the opposition leader of Barbados can cry all he wants to cry. I'm not sure if he was he or a she, but the opposition leader or the opposition party in Barbados during the coronavirus pandemic, yes, they were complaining that the fact that she called a snap election, that would have caused her to have won the election. But in 2018, a year before the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, she also copped all 30 seats, right? And then we had an MP who walked on the other side just to perhaps make it look as if it's a democracy. But it seems to me that Barbados is really a dictatorship, because I can't believe that an entire population would give, such a landslide victory to one prime minister, all right, to one leader, the reigning government, something that is interesting. So it seems to me that Mia Mottley is really, what should I say now, a passionate speaker, right? And she's a charismatic leader. And it means, therefore, that people are inspired, right? She's an inspirational leader, because that is what would have given her that sort of landslide victory by copying all the seats in the Barbadian parliament, right? Something that is interesting to note. Now, those of you who think that she is defending your interests on the world stage, you must understand that Mia Mottley is actually using a strategy of racialized politics. And when she uses those racialized politics and she sounds the right note and talk about, the difference between the global South and the global North, you get very excited. But she is more in line with the climate change agenda than she is in line with, solving the problems of the global South, right? Something that you have to understand. Mia Mottley is also, she has emerged from the Barbadian sort of elite tradition, right? And she belongs to an elite Barbadian family. I understand the Mottleys in Barbados, in terms of those who have been engaged in politics, are really a dynasty, as it were. And they are not coming from a working class family, right? So she is coming from a privileged Barbadian elite family, something that you have to understand. I'm not suggesting here that she might not be standing up for some real issues that might affect the poor and the working class, but you must understand that I have not heard her say a lot that has to do with, or have to do with, the improvement of the lives of the working class, of the average working class person. I have not heard her made any such statements. A lot of what she has to say, you know, she says it over and over. They're talking points. Something, if you listen to her frequently, you will see that she uses the same talking points over and over. You know, much to, you know, it's really quite nauseating, as it were, to listen to her when she just says the same thing over and over. But if you look beneath what she's saying, at the end of the day, her real advocacy is for climate change. I see a lot of videos online in which Caribbean people tend to think that she is standing up for people in the Caribbean and the global South. Be careful of what you think she is standing. You need to read more, and you need to look at people's agenda, and you need to also look at the people with whom she is associated, organizations, and to see what their agendas really are, right? Do not just sit and think that because she's sounding some right notes and you can sing the Hallelujah chorus, it means therefore that she is actually defending your interests, right? So something I wanted to point out that's interesting, that Mia Mottley, the Barbadian Prime Minister, the one who actually led Barbados into a parliament to republic, you know, seems to be practicing, or seems to be heading a dictatorship there in Barbados, not perhaps of her own wish or of her own undertaking, but definitely if you have copped all those seats, right, of the 30 seats in Barbados, in the Barbadian parliament, you've copped, you know, 29 and 30 seats, whatever. It means therefore that that is not much of an opposition. There's no opposition really. So that is a quasi dictatorship as far as I'm concerned, right? So tell me what you think, and let me know if you think Barbados is heading in the right direction under Prime Minister Mia Mottley. Thank you so much for joining. Please be sure to like and to share and to subscribe so that we can build our community, because we are the thinking channel. It's time for us to start thinking. It's time for us to stop being entertained so that we can be able to challenge our leaders and to make and to construct a better world for children and future generation around the world. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you in the next video.